time since I've seen some of you guys. So great to have you guys. So we're going to kick it off with a little visualization. So I want you to start by, if you can, if you're able, if it's safe, to start by closing your eyes. I promise I won't. We won't do anything weird here. You know, you can keep your cameras on. This won't be too long. And I just want you to take a big deep breath in, fill your belly with air, and exhale. Another big deep belly breath in. Hold it in there for a second, nice and full, and a big long exhale. One more breath in just to calm that nervous system. Breath in and exhale. I want you to picture yourself on July 1st. It's 3 months from now, a little over 3 months from now. Who are you with? What are you doing? Just set that scene. Just going to pop in. And everything you wanted over the last 3 months since you did that weird visualization with that Canadian dude has come true. What are you celebrating coming true? What has been your biggest and greatest accomplishment over the past 90 days? I'll give you a moment to sit with that. Now, what does this look like tangibly? How do you know that you have accomplished this thing? How can you tell without a doubt that you've done it? Are you looking at your bank account statement? Are you sitting in a brand new home? Are you on vacation? Are you spending time with your spouse or your family on a Tuesday afternoon because you have so much freedom in your schedule? And to take it a step further, what do you hear in this scene? What can you smell? What can you taste? Maybe there's some champagne on your lips. And what are you feeling? What emotions are you feeling knowing that you have accomplished this thing? I'm going to give you 30 seconds to just sit in that feeling, to just visualize this moment, this celebration, and just enjoy it. Feel it. And if that version of you 3 months from now, enjoying this celebration and having undoubtedly accomplished a major milestone, if that version of you could give the current version of you advice, what would it be? What do you need to hear right now? There's no wrong answer here. Let's have you take a deep breath in, let it go. As you take your next breath in, just bring your mind back to the room. You can wiggle your toes and fingers, and when you're ready, come on back up. Come on back, open up your eyes. Make sure you grab your pen, write down what came up for you. Maybe something you didn't expect, the goal, the people you were with, the advice. Awesome work, guys. Welcome, everybody. A few more people joined us. Look at this. I just want to Just want to say, I think with someone coming in here, I think we might be at 30, 29 right now. That's very exciting for me. Good crew. Good crew here. Thank you for joining. So here's the deal. According to your brain, you've already accomplished the goal that you set for July 1st. You've already done it because your brain cannot tell the difference between a quote unquote real experience and an experience that you have vividly imagined. So you've already accomplished it once. Kudos. We're done. Here we go. Now, the question is, what are we going to do with this? Right? In a world where a lot of mindset coaches and gurus are talking about manifesting and sitting with your eyes closed and kumbayaing, I want to connect the woo woo stuff to the real life actionable strategies. And what I'm going to bring to you guys is honestly, it seems simple, but it's the best strategy I've ever seen. Okay. Now, my goal on this workshop here over the next, I don't think we're going to take the full 2 hours, but I want to make sure you guys have the time and space to really think through a lot of this stuff. Even if you can only stay for a little bit, let's, stick around and we'll work through it. But my goal on this workshop is to literally, I don't know what just happened there. John shared something on the screen. Uh, it's okay. We're going to have a pink line on the screen. If you get, I don't know if you guys can see that, but my goal here is to literally teach you everything you need to know. Okay. About setting your 90-day goals and vision and hitting it. But I only have like 2 hours. Okay. So logically, I'm going to get you to accept that this thing is going to work. And then just so you know, I'm going to sell you something at the end so we can see it through. But here's the thing, over the course of the next couple hours, my job is not for me to force you to make a decision on buying this thing or moving forward. I want to make that decision together if you want to move forward. Okay. And I want to do that by just showing you massive value here. Okay. So I'm going to open up everything that I can. You're not here for more information. You can get information on Google. You can get more information than I can give you on ChatGPT. You're here for implementation and you're here for results. So let's not just sit around meditating. Let's take some actions. Yeah. So I want to tell you the story of Frank Den Blanken. Some of you guys might know who he is. I learned all this 90-day planning stuff from the guy on the left, the short guy named Craig Ballantyne. Now, Frank, the massive Dutch dude beside him, came to one of Craig's workshops, and I think it was in 2018, and helped him build out a 90-day plan. Now, it was super specific 90-day plan, and the goals were big, as you can see by the results at the top of the page. Within 90 days, Frank went from making approximately 10 to 15K a month and working 12 to 14-hour days to working less than 8 hours a day, taking vacations with his family, and making over $100,000 a month. Okay. We literally can't share this stuff on social media because it's too unrealistic. We can't share it. Everyone's like, no, it's bullshit. It's not bullshit. It happened. Promise. You can ask Frank. When I got an opportunity to ask Frank like how he did it. I was at an event with him. Actually, it was this event. And I was like, dude, you got to tell me how you did this. He's like, I took the 1-page 90-day plan home. I put it up beside my computer. And every single day, I just did exactly what was on the sheet. Now, if any of you know Frank, that's a very oversimplification because that's what Frank does. He's like, I just did the thing. Okay. But it is that simple. Make a specific plan in line with your big, big goals. Get clear on the specific action steps that are going to give you the best chance to succeed. We're going to talk about this more, but you cannot control the outcome. So all we can do is put action steps in place that give you the best chance to succeed. Get accountability to make sure you complete those action steps, and then keep a tight feedback loop on what's working and what's not working so we can iterate as we go. That's it. That's all we're going to focus on here. Simplicity is king and queen these days. Everyone likes to overcomplicate things with ads and funnels and stuff. Simplicity. Okay. So let's start by looking back. And you don't have to answer all these questions right now. I want you to start with the first one. Where were you when the year turned? January 1st, 2025. Where were you at? Where was your business at? Where was your life at? What were you thinking? What were you focused on? What were you feeling? Where were you at? Good to see everybody on here. 31 people. Well, that's with the note takers, but pumped to see you guys. So, where were you at 3 months ago? And as we start to move towards today, what was your biggest accomplishment of this first quarter? What is the thing you're most proud of? Now, maybe this is in alignment with that, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it was something that, challenged you a lot. But what was your biggest lesson of the first quarter? Celine says PB month in February. Yeah. I would actually love if you guys want to let's get the vibes up. Let's share some big wins. Let's share some accomplishments. If you guys want to share, drop it in the chat. What was your biggest accomplishment, the thing you're most proud of in Q1 of 2025 since January? Trust my intuition with what me and my business needs. I am very happy to hear that, Michelle. I've been working on that for some time. Great to hear. Stopped fearing rejection, started sharing my business properly. Catherine, that's great to hear. Trying to find you on here. Great to have you here. Sure, there's a few other folks who fear rejection. First time I equaled my corp salary since starting my therapy business 10 months ago. Yes, Catherine. Yes. When we talked about this, this was the exact discussion we had I remember in Marbella in the sun. We were both literally getting sunburnt as we spoke about it. And I'll take it. Some wins happening. Now, maybe your wins feel a little different. Maybe you kind of like feel like, "Oh, my wins weren't as good." I want you to recognize that these are all slightly different and you get to choose what the wins are. You get to choose what a win is. So even if it's just the fact that you're still going, it's a win. Yeah, Clayton, I'm so pumped for your new launch, man. Clarity and drive towards new launch, 5-figure months. Yes. Moving into the new place, personal best month in January. And Trevor, as we spoke about, you are living life in alignment. The guy gets to go lift and cold plunge every day if he wants to. Oh, love it, Jordan. Increased monthly recurring revenue to exceed your military salary. Beautiful. That's awesome. I know that was something that we had been discussing for some time as well. Beat last year Q1 by 21K with less work. Woo! And we still got a couple days left, Stefan. Look out. Great to see you on here, Stefan. It's been a long time. So we got some big accomplishments, big wins. I want you to write down some lessons you learned, good, bad, or otherwise. And then I want to just like kind of close up this loop of looking back on in one word or phrase, how do you feel about your business today? This doesn't need to necessarily be positive, but let's get some awareness of how we're feeling about the business today. And let's drop that in the chat if you guys are open to it. One word or phrase, how do you feel about the business? Excited. In process. I like that, Celine. It's always in process. Expansive. Ooh-wee. I see some good adjectives coming in here. I finally feel like I'm in at the right place in the right time. Yes, lots of opportunities, limitless possibilities. This is good. Now, I got to say, I know some of you might be on here like, I don't know. Yeah, Dave's worried, and that's okay. It's awareness. Maybe you're somewhere in between, stagnant. Totally fair. We need a little kickstart, need a little kick in the butt. Ready, flowing. Yes. So if you're feeling good, like if you're feeling good, if you're feeling positive, expansive, flowing, all these things, let's use this next little bit of planning to really build on this momentum that we have. Momentum is a powerful thing. If you're not feeling so good, if you're feeling stagnant, if you're feeling, I don't know, let's use this as that break, as that pattern interrupt to shift, to shift into something that is more intentional, intentional action steps. A lot of times we feel not great when we're not taking intentional actions towards a greater outcome. Okay, so the biggest thing we're going to do over the next 60 to 90 minutes is we're going to create something that allows you to be very intentional with every action that you take. It gives you a North Star that we're shooting for, and it's going to give you some structure to either build on the momentum or to create new momentum. The energy is always flowing, and just being here, you guys are putting yourself in a good position. So, this probably came up in the visualization. If you weren't on the visualization, that's okay. But what do you want in 90 days? What do you want? What would make you say, hell yeah, if it came true on July 1st, 2025? What is your outcome goal? We'll talk about what's on there in a second. You don't have to share this. What I want you to do is I want you to write done when you've got something. And then we'll kind of go into the lesson because this is just going to be a frame. You should probably write this, in pencil. Celine, I love it. I love it when Celine's sharing. She wants to stop taking calls. She's done with the calls. Heck yes.
Please.
Awesome. 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 Okay, cool. We're moving here. We're moving. This is good. So I've done this with hundreds, if not thousands of coaches and business owners. The number one mistake that I see is that they're not specific enough. Okay. So here's what I want to do. And Mike, I'll get to you in 1 second. Here's what I want to make sure. The lens you need to run this through as we adjust it and edit it. If you and I meet for coffee on July 1st and I ask you, did you accomplish the 90-day goal you set at the workshop in March? There should only be two potential answers, yes or no. There's no waffling, no maybes. The goal should be that clear. So when you read that goal, put that in your frame of mind. If someone were to ask me, did you accomplish it? The only answer should be yes or no. Mike, what's your question? And then we can keep rolling. What do you got?
Yeah, is this goal, should this be something that is like kind of scary to be able to hit,
Oh,
like a income goal, or like should we
Mike's
be
reading
like,
ahead. You're reading ahead in the textbook. This is good.
no,
Yeah,
I'm not.
yes.
I haven't read anything, but or or should we be like, okay, like let's calm down a little bit. Let's set something more realistic, I guess.
We're going to get to this in a couple slides. I would suggest that we, as of right now, like as of like this second, put something down that maybe scares you a little, but you feel like you can hit. Okay. Like it scares you a little, but you feel like there's like a path to it. Okay. And then we're going to adjust it. We're probably going to blow that up in a second anyway. Okay. But I want you to start thinking about that. And all of you guys, I want you to start thinking about that. Like what scares you? Okay. And one important thing to understand, as I'm sure most of you guys are setting like monetary based goals, right? Whenever we set an outcome based goal, a part of that is always going to be outside of your control. So the outcome is going to be outside of your control. The outcome, the thing we're writing down right now, is going to be a byproduct of the actions that you take. So just recognize that you could do everything right and just not close that last deal, right? You could do everything right and be, $1 away, and that's okay. Okay. We're going to talk more about this later, but I want you to start thinking about like, what's the worst case scenario if you set a goal and don't hit it? If you don't hit that outcome based goal, because likely it's not as bad as your brain is making it seem. So we've got a 90-day goal that we're working with. Cool. Now, I want to just take you through some common mistakes. The first question I'm going to ask you about this goal is why? Why does it matter to you? Why are you setting this goal and why are you putting a quarter of a year into it? I spent way too long borrowing other people's goals because I thought it's what I was supposed to want. Okay, a lot of people set goals that they think they're supposed to set. If you have an income goal, why? What purpose is that money going to serve? If it's to pay off debt, awesome. That's a powerful why. If it's to save for your first house, amazing. That's a powerful why. Get clear on what this goal will serve in your life. Okay? Without a clear why, the what gets a lot more difficult, right? So when it's a random Tuesday in May, it's raining, you don't really want to do the thing that you wrote down you were going to do. The why is going to get your ass in gear. The why is going to allow you to continue doing the hard things, even if you don't see results right away. And the why is going to push you to start asking different questions, getting creative, especially when things aren't going the way you expected. Because we know that over the next 90 days, there's going to be moments where you're like, what the hell? Why is this not going the way I wanted it to go? And that's when we need to dig in. Secondhand goal setting, Clayton, is when we see something in a Facebook group or we see something on social media and we go, oh, that looks good. I'm just going to set that goal. Right. And a lot of times what I see with the way the social media world is speaking to us these days is the goal is always more. More, 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 more. I encourage you to ask why. Why more? What is the more for? And if it's not just more, if there is a specific, if there are specific things you're not willing to sacrifice, like for example, if you want to make more money, but you're not willing to sacrifice time with your kids or your partner, write that down. Like get super specific with what you want and also what you're not willing to sacrifice. So secondhand goal setting is just, taking someone else's goal and not really knowing why. And I've done it way too many times. Oh yeah, I want to make $1 million in a year. Why? Well, I don't know. So I can make my ego feel better? Not a great reason. So let's make sure that there's a specific why behind the goal that you're setting. Is anyone coming up against and against a brick wall or against some challenges with that? Just drop in the chat if you are and let me know. We can answer some questions. Are we feeling good? Okay, I'm going to take that silence as everyone is feeling good. Cool. Sometimes I also see this. We'll kind of rip through this. Too many different goals. Okay. So a lot of times people are like, yeah, I have 6 goals for this quarter. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. The way we're going to set this up is we're going to go through, we're going to have the outcome goal. We're going to get super clear on that. Then we're going to set some process-based goals or some milestones. Some of these goals might be more process-based goals. Okay. But I want you to recognize that probably you're going to need to go deeper. If you've got a whole bunch of goals, they're probably all pointing towards the same thing. If If you chase two rabbits, you won't catch either one. Let's set one specific business-based goal. Now, you might be here because you have a personal goal. That's totally fine too. But I know most of you guys here are like business owners, high performers who, want to win at business, and that's fine. So I'm going to focus on that. If we are capable of more, aren't we called to try and do more and expand? Heck yes, we are. You guys, you and Mike, you guys are reading ahead. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're gonna get there. But here's the thing, Nate, is, and it's good to see you again, brother. Good to have you on here. Is if we're chasing more for more, we're always going to falter. Okay. We need that reason. Now, it might be because I want to see what I'm capable of. That's a good reason to see what you're capable of, to be like, okay, I want to see what I'm made of here. I want to see what I can do. Like a lot of times, like actually a recent goal of mine was because I wanted to prove that I could do it, prove to myself that I could do it. And that's good, but we just have to recognize that. I just see so many people saying, well, I want to buy a Lambo because that guy has a Lambo. But then like you bring it home and you show your friends and then you're like, I'm kind of bored with this thing and I wasted a lot of money on it. And so let's get super clear on why. Okay. And this is the biggest one. You're not thinking big enough. Okay. Here's the deal. You guys could have stayed home, not come onto this. I'm glad it rings true. Beautiful. Love that. You guys could have just, stayed in your own cocoon, not showed up to this workshop, and you could have set goals. Okay. But you didn't come here to set goals that you could have set on your own. Okay. I want you to, let's elevate this a little bit to something that does scare you. Okay. And a lot of you guys have heard me talk about when I was in Dubai, when I was speaking last year at Charlie Johnson's mastermind, and he called up Aliyah Merez, who had made like 100K a month or something. She's like 24 years old. And he just asked her to say something. And she said, it costs you nothing to dream bigger. And I really want you guys to think about that. And I really want you guys to recognize that. What is the worst case scenario if you go bigger and you don't hit the goal? I'm not going to come punch you in the face. I promise. No one is going to come down and say, you suck, you're done, you're out. Setting a bigger goal, a scary goal, okay? What it's going to do for you is it's going to force you to think differently. Setting a realistic and just like okay, next step type of goal, you're going to fall into the same patterns. I set a massive Q1 goal, and I'll tell you guys, very frankly, I didn't come close to hitting it. It was an income-based goal. Here's what I did do. I hit 100% growth year over year in Q1, which means I doubled last year's numbers. I had a massive goal that I didn't hit, but I doubled last year's numbers. I probably wouldn't have done that if I had set a realistic next step type goal. So I want you to think about what is stopping you from doubling your goal, 5xing your goal, going way bigger on your goal. What actually is stopping you from achieving that? And if it's only your belief in yourself or your lack of belief in yourself and your ability to do that, that's not a good enough reason. Now, remember, the outcome goal decides the intensity of the action steps. So I know there's some of you guys on here with families, some of you guys on here who want to start families, who have other things going on, and that's okay. And take those things into account when it comes down to what you're willing to do to get your goal. Because if you say that you want to make $1 million in the next quarter, that's going to require very different action items than if you want to make $100,000 in the next quarter or $10,000 in the next quarter. And if you are not willing to prioritize those action items and willing to maybe sacrifice some other parts of your life, that's okay. But let's recognize where that line is. And if you just want to see if you can do it, then let's get super specific and go, I want to make $1 million in the next quarter without sacrificing time with my family. I want to make $1 million in the next quarter and never do one stick of work past 5 p.m. Awesome. Set that as the goal because your brain is a problem solving machine and we need to give it better problems to solve. We need to give it more intricate problems to solve. It can solve them, or at the very least, it can start to work towards solving them and give you creative solutions to your problems. This was one of the things that I noticed when my son Henry was born. Is I immediately had a new set of boundaries on me because I wanted to be available. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be present with him. But I still had big goals. In fact, seeing him and having him come into our world made me want to set bigger goals and hit bigger goals. So I had bigger goals and I had less time to hit them. Okay. That's like, scary. But at the same time, it forced me to think differently. It forced me to think creatively. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to try it again and I want you to go bigger. I want you to go bigger again. We want to keep the why clear and we want to make sure that it can fit within the boundaries of what we're willing, the intensity with which we're willing to act over the next 3 months. Right? If you've got some big events coming up in the next 3 months and you know that you're going to probably not be able to be super driven and super intense for the whole 3 months, allow that to adjust. But here's what this should be. This should be a goal that A, scares you, as Mike said earlier, it scares you, and B, you shouldn't quite have the exact roadmap to get there yet. There should be some sort of a disconnect in your brain, like I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to get there. Because I promise if you keep asking the question and keep taking intentional actions towards it, your brain is going to connect those dots for you. Okay, your brain is going to connect those dots. That's correct. Well, we're going to talk about how intense those action items are going to be. Because based on the current knowledge that you have, Clayton, so basically what we're going to look at, not next, but very soon in the next few minutes, is based on what you know now, we're going to say, what are the action steps that are going to give you the best chance to succeed? Right? What I can say is we do know that, if your goal is 10 times bigger, it's going to take some more intense action items. Hopefully it doesn't take 10 times the intensity, but it will take more intense action items. Right? If you need to enroll 100 people versus 10, we're probably going to need to talk to more people. We're definitely going to need to book more calls or to send more proposals. Does anybody need to talk through this? Anybody need to work through this? I would love to work through this stuff with you guys and make sure that we have something solid. And if anyone's willing to share in the chat what they're shooting for, I'd love that. I won't do what my coach did and specifically call people out, but I'd love to have some people jump on and share. Mike, yes. And you can just pop off mute. If anybody else wants to share, just pop in the chat that you're going to share after Mike.
Yeah. Am I sharing my goal?
Yeah. So what do you got? What's something that
Yeah.
that feels a little scary for you?
So my initial goal was to hit 60K over the next over the next quarter, and
Yep.
then went back and expanded it to 100K this next quarter.
Nice. Nice.
I didn't quite double it, but I bumped it up a bit.
Yeah, and that's knowing where you're at, like I know that's relatively scary for you. Like I know that's obviously bigger than what you had originally thought and planned. And I also know that you've got two little girls at home, right? You've got a lot of things on your plate that are going to require you to get creative. And so what's going to come up now? We're going to talk about milestones. We're going to talk about action items. What's going to come up now for you is we're going to have to get creative on what this is going to look like and start to put some systems in place to give you the best chance to get there without sacrificing time with your family. Because I know, and this is what I know about all of you guys that have families who are on here, because I know most of you pretty well, is that something you're not willing to sacrifice. And that's good. So, Mike, the question for you now becomes over the next few minutes as we're looking at this, how do I collect 100K, or how do I give myself the best chance to collect 100K without sacrificing time with my girls? Okay? And that's this is the thing. So, and this is what I want you guys to all recognize. Mike, thank you so much for sharing this. Most of the time, our default is going to be I need to work harder. Okay. That's a middle class mindset. I want you guys to all know that. Probably a lot of you guys grew up lower to middle class. Even if you grew up in the upper class, there's probably some other interesting things that going on in your head about how hard you need to work and money and all those things. It's a middle class mindset to think that the only way or the default way to get more is to work harder. Okay. If you guys have ever been to third world countries or places, far east, they work harder than any of us and they make crap money. In fact, less money than most of us could imagine. Hard work, more hard work is not going to be the only ticket. So, what I'm challenging Mike to do is to go almost like, how can I do this without just more hammering of hard work? Is there a way I can get creative and build something that serves my life and gets me more money than I could have dreamed of 20 minutes ago? Is anybody else open to sharing? Since we've got a quiet group today.
I can share, Gav.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Okay, so my original goal was have my first 10K month without working past 5 or more than 30 hours. And my go bigger goal is have 3 10K months in a row. I've been so close many times. And I just want to be able to hit that and without working past 5 or more than 30 hours. And this is another big one, and without using social media. So I'm trying to go old school with my goal.
Old
Just word of mouth.
school. Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this. Word of mouth. I know you love the networking events. You're a social
Mhm.
butterfly. So getting out to those, that's awesome. I would encourage you to make one shift that
Absolutely.
takes some like because one thing that I'm noticing in there is you're trying to control something that's not controllable. Is let me ask you this. If you made 4K and then 6K and then 20K, would you be happy with the quarter?
Yeah.
So it's 30K over the quarter. Let's make
Yeah.
that shift. It's
Okay.
30K total.
That
Yeah.
actually feels better. Yeah.
Yeah, because what I don't want you sitting here is in April going, it's April 15th and I haven't made 5K and oh no, I'm not on the path, right? Because that's how our brains can sometimes work, right? It's like, oh, I'm not on the path, and then we start panicking. But if we can keep if we can keep open to like, I don't know how I'm gonna get there fully. I don't exactly know how this is gonna work out. Right. I've said to a lot of people who have seen me speak in person have heard me say this before, but I'm guessing, although it would be quite panic filled, if 30K dropped in on June 29th, you'd be okay with it, right?
Pretty okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be panicking till June 28th, but then on June 29th, you'd be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, nice." Right?
Yeah.
So
And it
we
actually,
don't care
yeah.
how.
Yeah. And that happened last week. Like a client decided to pay in full for the rest of her year. And I was just like, oh, okay, that was easy. And that was like
Cool.
4th day, right?
Yeah.
So.
So it can
Okay.
happen in any way. So any of you guys who are kind of like we try and take control of things in these little weird ways. And like there's nothing wrong with the way Michelle had said that, right? I want to have 3 10K months in a row. But let's recognize that if we want to hit 30K total, like that's the real goal is to hit
Hmm.
30K total collected. Well, that's going to require you to hit 10K at least once, right? Over the 3 months.
Yeah.
And if we can hit the 30K total, like that's really what we're looking for.
That is so beautiful, Gav, because like energetically, I feel okay, that means I'm closing off a potential 15K month, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to
Yeah.
limit me. So that's so helpful. Thank you.
Oh, and one more thing for both of you guys. Let's just add 2 words or more. Okay? Mike and Michelle or more. 100K or more, 30K or more. Because we want to be open to that. We want to allow that to come in.
Cool. I dig it. Thanks.
Anybody else open to sharing? We've got a request in here. Nate,
Yeah, I'd be happy to share, brother.
good to see you, man.
And hey, likewise, appreciate you throwing this thing on, and
Awesome.
it's good to hear your voice again.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, my so my when we started working together a while back, I know for me there's a lot of paradigm breaking just because I was working that 70, 75 hours a week and kind of felt like that was the price to be paid. My goal since then has shifted pretty dramatically, obviously, from just revenue now that I've got 4 kids to revenue and time. But I also find myself not willing to want to change my revenue growth projections either. And a lot of times they're
Good.
going, am I just wanting more? But I also feel like, you know what, it can be done. So for me, a record quarter would be 400,000 in revenue, which is up. Thinking about to date, my best quarter has been like 290. Um, and
Beautiful. So
I'm
we're
my
pushing. We're pushing
objective is
there.
to do that. Yeah, it'd be a big goal, a big change for me, and to do that working no more than 45 hours a week, 10 weeks of the quarter. And what I
Beautiful.
find myself struggling with a lot is I set the clear intention. I'm excited. I've got the energy, but I do find myself if I get it all behind where I thought I should be, getting like really agitated, like very
Yes.
like, noticeably to the team, to the family, to the kids. So I guess I'm struggling with that, like letting go of the how the steps will unfold. To be honest with you, and I know
Yep.
I need to. I'm not doing it.
And I'm going to tell a story about this later, but this is similar to
Okay.
what we were talking about with Michelle, right? Is like the more that we try and grab and hold on to how it comes. And when you say, "Oh, if I'm not on track," that's to say like, okay, like we're checking the date, and if I'm not at this number, then I'm behind and now I'm getting agitated, right? The more we try and grab and hold on to that control, the less likely we are to see it happen. And it's when, I've told a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people this story too, right? When we were in high school and we were trying to date, right? When we were desperate and we wanted to date, nobody wanted to date us, right? Especially
Preach.
the men on this call are like, uh-huh, yep, for sure. And the women are also like, yep, that's true. That's how it was. So when we detached from it a little bit, it's not to say that we don't care, but when we detached from it, it became easier, right?
Yeah.
So if we can detach from, so I want that what to be clear, which it is 400K, less than 45 hours a week, 10 hours, 10 or 10 weeks out of the quarter. Beautiful.
Yep.
It's super clear. The why is also clear. Like I know you had asked some questions earlier. Why the why is clear because I don't want to sacrifice time with my family. I want to see if I can do this. I want to challenge myself. I want to push myself to see if I can do this. But we have to let go of the how. We have to let go of how it's going to come because I know, just like I asked Michelle, I'll ask you the same thing, right? If the last 300,000 drops in on, week 10, would you be okay with that?
I
If we
mean,
hit
yeah.
100K and then the last 300K drops in one huge deal,
Yep.
you'd be okay with it, right? So
Hmm.
if you're okay with it, then that tells me that subconsciously you don't need it to happen in a certain way. That's us consciously trying to take control.
Yeah.
Okay. But the universe, the higher power, whatever it is you believe in, responds to that healthy detachment of I'm just going to keep taking the actions, and I know that I have faith that the byproduct is going to take care of itself.
So a follow-up question to that would be if I'm completely detached from the outcome, which is obviously hard to do when you
Yep.
want the outcome.
It's the
But
hardest thing to do.
I'm glad it's not just me then. Okay. What is the point of checking in routinely with whether or not my activities are creating results? Because if the last 300 comes in one day, more by happenstance than anything, like what's the actual benefit of saying like, all right, the 15th are my actions working, you know?
Yeah. So uh, Nika said something really nicely here. She said subconscious training. We are we're setting the goal and we're checking in on the goal, the outcome goal,
Hmm.
simply to for feedback, for lack of a better
Okay.
term. So simply to see if we're on the right track. So like we're going to go through this in a few minutes and we're going to set some action
Okay.
items for the next 30 days. Okay.
Okay.
And if I absolutely go ham and I'm like running ads and I'm doing reach outs and my team is dialed in in the next 30 days and and we make 40K and nothing seems to be working well, then
Mhm.
we don't want to just keep being like, oh, well, I'm Harry Fairy, it's going to happen. We want to know, like, okay, I'm not on the path to where I want to be. So
Okay.
I got to make some changes, right? So what the outcome goal does is like I said, it sets the intensity of the action steps and it
Hmm.
allows you to consistently provide feedback. Am I on the path that I think I need to be on? And this is, when you talked about feeling agitated, what I want you to do, I don't want you to try and avoid that feeling if things aren't going well and go, oh, it's all going to be okay. I want you to use that as an opportunity to look at what needs to change.
Okay.
Okay. Because we often take failure or not being on the right track, we often look at that as, oh, I suck, this means I'm bad, I'm going to judge myself, I'm going to get angry, and we forget at the amazing amount of feedback that is in that frustrating moment.
Mhm.
So the agitation for you, if you start feeling the agitation on the path, and there will be a point over the next 90 days that you will feel agitation when you are setting a big goal like you have. There will
Okay.
be a point. When you start to feel the agitation, shift that into curiosity and use that as an opportunity to learn. I'm
Okay.
starting to feel agitated. What is this trying to teach me? What is this agitation trying to teach me? Okay, maybe I'm not at the level I need to be at. Maybe I haven't created systems for my team. Maybe I just don't know yet what it's going to require.
Mhm.
And okay, I need to dig back in and ask the questions, right? Instead of I suck, screw this, hate this, Gav's an idiot. I'm just gonna go back and work 90 hours a week and sacrifice
Mhm.
everything. No, there's a reason that this was kind of put on your heart and put in your brain to shoot for. There's a deep why behind that. Let's keep that front and center and let's allow any frustration or anything swaying off the path to give us feedback. This is the most valuable part of this whole thing is every action that we take over the next 30, 60, 90 days is intentional and is directed towards this North Star. So we know if we keep taking the intentional actions, if it's working or not. Instead of just going, well, I'm just going to try this and try that and try this and try the other, we've got a specific plan. And now, if we need to shift that plan, that's okay. But it's all intentionally going towards this North Star.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's starting to.
Yeah, yeah. It's a big
Thank you.
paradigm shift. And I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
probably thinking the same thing as you. And then that's okay. This is why I love doing this and having people share. Um, Catherine, what do you got for us? Where's Catherine? Let's see if I can find her. There she is.
Thank you. So mine was 10K to get to a 10K month, but then I thought, well, let's put it to 20 after what you said. Let's go for it. But from multiple ways of kind of doing the therapy rather than just one-to-one. So don't know what that looks like now, but some ideas I've had is doing therapy sailing, and
Yeah.
also working with I'm currently pairing up with a nutritionist to do an endometriosis and wellness program. So like mind and body wellness.
Yeah.
So
If you, by the way, if you do that, please let me know because I'm, heavily invested in that. I want to help as many people as possible with the endometriosis thing.
yeah.
Um,
Thanks.
um,
Yeah. So it's more so kind of branching out to help in rather than just doing RTT therapy. I've only got one program I offer, so I feel like there's like adding to what I
yeah.
offer, basically. Give
Let's
variety.
just get some specific clarity. So just to be clear, if you hit 120K a month, you will be happy.
Hit and maintain
Okay. Okay. So this
or
is this is the
sustain.
thing, right? We have to make sure that we're clear on that. So what I would actually probably suggest is let's set a number for the whole quarter, and then let's say we want at least one of those months to be 20K,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
right? So that's kind of similar to Michelle's, but like, we know, like, for example, like if you say I want to hit 40K for the quarter, well, I mean, I guess there's ways you could do that. No, yeah, there's ways you could do that without a 20K month. But if you set a number where you essentially have to have at least one 20K month, then
Mhm.
that sets us up a little bit better. And we can also say, and I want to hit at least one 20K month. I'd ideally like to hit at least one 20K months. And that, because that's kind of one of those things that like I want to see if I can do it. Right.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Okay. So
Mhm.
we're starting to see some of these little tweaks happen. And we'll take Nika and then we will move on. Nika, where's Nika at? True self, there she is.
Hello.
Hello.
So I've written mine down. I should share. So I've got attract 60 plus equestrian women with two expert, passionate female coaches, making 20K per month or more.
Okay.
And then I've also got working 5 hours a day in my business with a Sunday off
Okay,
as well.
beautiful. Okay, so this is what I mean by clarity, guys. Okay. One thing I would shift is I would pull the two coaches out and we can put that into the milestones, the process-based goals a little later. We haven't done that part yet, but I would just pull that out because I think that's something that's going to be required likely to get there, right? So we're going to have to hire those people probably based on the way you currently deliver your product. But the big thing I think is we want to bring in 60 new women, like 60 women into the program. I
Yeah,
think that's the big thing.
I wrote that down because I see so many fitness coaches like burnt out at like 60 clients, and I just don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do at all, which is why I'm like, I want to get people in sooner
Yeah.
because
So
that's not.
yes. So what we're going to talk about next, guys, just this is kind of foreshadowing a little bit, is there's going to be probably two or three big picture process-based goals or milestones that are going to help you get where you want to go, that are within your control. Now it is within Nika's control to hire people to make sure that she doesn't have to work more than 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. Right. So that's her specific piece there of like, I'm not willing to work more than 30 hours or 35 hours. No, 30 hours, 6 days, 5 hours. I'm not willing to do that. And therefore, part of this solution is going to be that I need to make those hires. Okay. So, but to be clear, like the big picture thing is we want to see 60 women walk through the door, the proverbial door. Yeah. And then at the price point, that's gonna all the money and that stuff is gonna shake out. Cool. Just a question, just because I'm curious. If you could make the same amount of money with 30 women, would you?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this isn't a number of women impacted thing then. This is a money thing.
Well, I'd definitely say it's both because I do get a lot of joy when I see people transform.
Yeah. I would encourage you to think a little more on what we're really like, because this is, if we go back a few slides, this is this one, right? We've kind of packed a whole bunch of things into this one statement. And so I want to just get really clear on like, what is all of this pointing to? Right now, I don't want to take away from your impact, but I think that you would like this. Well, knowing you, I've worked with you enough to know you that you would like this to be a business that, of course, serves a lot of women, but is also like more of a lifestyle based thing. I mean, that's working only 5 hours a day. That's what we want. I know you're doing some traveling right now and you want to enjoy these experiences. So I would just encourage you to really, feel into and get clear on like, does it have to be 60 women? Because that feels to me a little bit like we're kind of trying to control the outcome. Because like if you hit 40 women, but you hit the number, the cash number, you're probably going to be okay with it. Something to consider. Cool. Okay, cool. I need to see some things in the chat. Just drop a yes if you have a specific and scary outcome goal before we move further. I just need to see enough yeses in the chat if you've got a specific and scary outcome goal. Nate's so efficient that he just put a Y. Okay, cool. So Nika, the 60 women was based on the current price per month. So maybe we could think about the current price. I don't know. Something to play around with. Or maybe we could start ramping up the price. Something to think about. Surinder, if you're open, can you share where you're at? And we will move on, guys. This is a really important piece because it sets the whole tone.
In terms of my goal, Gavin.
Yeah. So you said, yes, I have something, but it's not specific.
Yeah, the goal isn't specific. I'm still struggling to really nail it down.
What are we working with right now? Where are we at?
In terms of income, it is kind of 15 to 18. It just, at the moment, I've
Okay.
stopped taking paid in full, which is why I don't know the exact number. This has been the best month so far since October.
Good. So question for you then. Do we maybe want to set a monthly recurring revenue goal?
I definitely want to increase it because the goals I have set for myself this year, personally.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know because we want to have that stability, right? I know we've talked about that. Like we'd like to have that stability in your income. And that's why we're not doing the paid in fulls anymore. So what if maybe we looked at like a specific monthly recurring. So what we could say is this. We could say, the cash number, the total cash number over the next 3 months that we would like to collect with, by the end of June, we have 6,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue or whatever the number is. Like, so I'm just going to throw out numbers here. I want to collect 20K total and have 6K a month in recurring revenue within 3 months.
Mm.
That's
So I have to
that's
come up with
what I'm.
with a number in terms of recurring.
I think that I think that's knowing your goals.
Mm.
What do you want, like, and knowing, okay, let's take a look at like, okay, what are your monthly expenses? What do you need to have dialed in? Like, what do you need to have to be able to achieve those personal goals? Let's set that as the recurring revenue goal, and then you can set a total revenue goal based on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I
That
love
helps.
that. I think that's an awesome thing to do. And I think, Jordan mentioned that he's got he's had some good growth in his monthly recurring revenue. And I think if you guys want stability, we should be looking at monthly recurring revenue, right? That should be something that we're looking at and not just hammering paid in fulls through the door and then panicking every month when we hit zero on the first.
Yeah.
Been there. I think too many of us have been there. Surinder, I know you've been there. Okay, so Surinder, let's get specific on what that number is. And And then what it could be too, Surinder, is we could look at, well, maybe there's the odd paid in full. If someone wants to pay in full, maybe there's the odd, maybe we do something like an enrollment fee plus monthly. Instead of a 3,000 paid in full, it's 1,500 plus 300 monthly or something like that. Like we could play around with some of
Yeah.
those things. Okay. Mike, you have a
Okay.
question? And then we'll jump into the next stuff here, unless more people have
Yeah,
questions.
just kind of going off of what Surinder was saying, and you mentioned about kind of switching from paid in fulls to monthly recurring. I mean, I've had the idea in the past, which has never worked out, of like the first half of the month, I'm going to focus on paid in fulls, get to where I need to be. And then the second half of the month, work on like just pitching like a monthly so that I can start to build up that monthly recurring revenue. But it just never happens where I don't get to that point. So I'm
Yeah.
just curious, like any thoughts on your end about like trying to target both of those things, but in
Yeah,
a way that's
I'm a big fan lately of an enrollment fee and then a monthly. So, if we look at a program being $3,000 for 6 months, okay, that breaks out to $500 a month. But if we looked at, okay, it's $3,000, it's 1,000 upfront and then 400 a month for 5 months. So the 1,000 gets you, what this does is it gets you the buy-in from like a bigger number up front. It also allows you to collect more money. And oftentimes people will say, and I would probably say it too, I was just trying to make sure my math worked out, is to
Yeah.
collect half of it up front. Because what the devil's advocate of this would say is, well, then you're missing out if they, if shit happens and they can't make a payment or whatever. Like we do want to collect as much as we can, right? But I think this is it's something that my coach has been talking a lot about. I think this is a really good way to kind of have your cake and eat it too, which is get the enrollment fee up front of, a good chunk of it, and then split the rest of it up into monthly over the following months.
right. Well, now when I hear enrollment fee, like that makes me just think that I'm paying a fee for no reason. So
Yeah, change the wording.
yeah, like a commitment. Like I don't know. So I guess that's kind of the only thing to kind of work on there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could just be like you could just say, so
Pay half up front.
here's how it works. The
Yeah.
entire program is 3K. The way we do it is you can either, if you'd like to pay in full, you can. So that kind of anchors it's 3K. Or if you'd like to do it the way it's worked for a lot of people, is you pay 1,000 up front and then we pay 400 a month for the 5 months after that. Which one do you want to do? And now we have a yes or yes scenario on the sales call.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gavin.
You're welcome. Yeah. So Michelle, yeah, you could say first installment amount, or just kind of like run it as like, this is how it works. This is the way we do it kind of thing. Cool. So I kind of touched on this already with Nika, I believe it was. So, once we have this, now we are going to break it down into specific action steps. Okay. But from there, let's look at some bigger picture over the next 3 months. What are some things that if these happen, they're going to give you a better chance to hit that goal, right? We just said the outcome goal is outside of your control. What 2 to 3 things, big picture, are within your control? So I'll give you an example. A lot of you guys run on sales calls, right? Well, we can control the amount. We maybe can't control the amount of like sales we make, but we can control the amount of sales calls we pitch, right? So if I know that I need to get on at my current price, if I know that I need to get on 30 sales calls, and I know that if I pitch a sales call to someone, 1 in 2 of them is going to take it. So that means I need to pitch 60 sales calls. So I know that if I pitch 60 sales calls, I give myself a very good chance to have 30 sales calls. And then I give myself a very good chance to make 15 sales, which is going to hit my numbers. So what are some of the process-based goals or the milestones that you need to hit to give yourself the best chance? Okay, so and Catherine, I'm seeing you there. So one of these things might be like we need to finalize these other offers. Like we need to finalize the endo offer. We need to finalize the therapy sailing offer, right? Like that might be one of the things that we need to do, right? Because we know we're probably not going to get to where we want to go with just the current RTT offer. Or at the very least, it's going to be very hard to get there. And I know we've talked about that. It's like, yeah, I don't think I want to be doing that much RTT. Cool, great. So now again, we're already getting more creative and solving problems. So what are the 2 to 3 process-based goals or milestones that are going to give you the best chance to get there? And just so you know, this is going to set the tone for the action items that we're going to talk about in a minute. And I'm realizing we're already over an hour. Gav got excited, but that's okay. I'll give you guys a couple minutes here to think what is now within my control that's going to give me the best chance to hit these numbers. What needs to happen? Right? Like Michelle, you probably got to figure out some other ways of getting clients. If it's not the almighty social media, we got to figure out some other methods. So, for example, I need to attend one networking event every week. I don't know, maybe that's something. Dan, this is what we're talking about, right? So now Dan's already recognized, I think I need some different ways to create more leads. Cool. Now we've started solving some problems here because the way that you've been creating leads, I'm guessing, because I know where you're coming from, is a complete pain in the ass and one of the least scalable things we can do. Let's see if we can figure out some other ways. And this is the thing, guys, right? If we want to do something we haven't done before, we have to look at different ways to solve the problem. And there it is right there. Michelle, let Michelle be proof that offline methods do work. Old school, breaking bread with people. Oh, Jordan wants to know. Look at this. Jordan, you got so many people connected with you. I think you could do this just as well as Michelle.
Feel like it's easier when it just comes to you like that, and you can network and have a chat with someone and actually communicate.
Well, that's the thing that I think Michelle has figured out. Like Michelle's like, if I get in the right rooms and I get in X amount of rooms, like actually I have one client who's like every time I go to a high level business event, so he's a fitness coach, very well respected fitness coach. He's like, every time I go to a high level business event with like high net worth people, I get at least 1 or 2 high level clients just by attending the event.
Wow.
So he's like, yeah, okay, it costs me a couple $1,000 to like get there and pay for my ticket, but I'm going to get 2 clients. I know that my LTV is usually they stay with me for about a year, so it's going to be like probably 5K or more for the year. So out of that 2,000, I'm probably going to make 10,000 on 2 clients for a year. Yeah, please, Michelle, please share.
Yeah, no, thank you for your curiosity. I am really leaning into following the fun, and for me, in person is more fun. So in-person workshops tend to be kind of where I feel the most highest vibration. And movement clinics. I did a holistic chronic pain management movement clinic for people, and one of them signed up that week. And I partnered with a cafe who has a yoga space. So I'm running these classes there, and I'm encouraging everyone who shows up bring a friend. This practice grows fully word of mouth because by the end of the year, I want to be completely off social media. So that's my goal. So yeah,
That's
finding that
good.
in person, like collaboration, that space, and just telling the universe what you need of like, hey, word of mouth, bring your friends,
Yeah.
and just follow the fun, whatever feels the most exciting for you. That is very magnetic. Hope that helps.
And I'm even thinking, Jordan, for you, if you bring people from your basketball world, from your military world, from those other places, um, and figure out like, so Michelle knows what her people struggle with, right? So like, and what they want as a solution, right? More holistic health. So you know what these people need and want. They want performance, they want less injuries. Let's lean into that and run some things. And I mean, look at what I'm doing right here. I'm running a workshop. It's just online because most of you guys are all over the world, right? So, Dan, something to think about for you. You had mentioned you're using free resources. What I'm starting to learn and what I'm seeing in the industries through working with a lot of you guys is that people are needing more than just a free resource to make a decision to move forward. And so we need to give them a lot more than we think we need to give them. We need to provide a lot more before the sale. So workshops, webinars, in-person workshops, those types of things are working really well because people want to hear your voice, see your face, experience what it's like to work with you before they pay you. It's just the way it is now in 2025. Free resources are great as kind of an entry point, but there needs to be more after that. Like they're likely not gonna come through, or it's gonna feel very sticky and very difficult with just content and like lead magnets. Yeah. Running a webinar, filling the webinar with as many people as you can. That's a really good way to do it. Oh, awesome. I didn't see Nick. Hey Nick, big thumbs up. I see you still lost your sleeves, but that's okay.
I've got a bag of prawns that I'm currently marinating. Good to see you, man. It's been a long time.
Big,
Sorry, I
big,
interrupted
no
Nova's
worries, no
call.
worries. Big bag of prawns. Good stuff. All right. Nika's like, get that out of my face. Okay. Okay. So now we're looking at, we've got our big goal and we've got some bigger picture process goals. We're starting to kind of like recognize some things, some ways we can do these things. Okay. Now let's start looking at the action items. Now, if you don't have the process-based goals, that'll probably come more clear as we look at the action items. But here's what I want to start with. Okay. So let's take the next, well, I've got the next 5 days because some of you guys maybe not want to work on Sundays or whatever, but what is one thing you can do today to start moving towards this goal? Now, here's the other thing to think about. We haven't even started Q2 yet. So all these actions today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Monday are all before Q2 starts. So we're actually getting a head start on Q2. So what is one thing that you can do, no matter how small, today? Today that can start moving you towards your goals. You know, maybe it's before you leave the Zoom room. Maybe it's just before you lay your head on the pillow tonight. But what's one thing you can do? And then I'll let you guys fill that out. What's something you can do tomorrow? Something you can do Saturday. If you want to do something Sunday, great, but definitely Monday before you kind of start your work day. So now by March 31st, we have hit 4 action items and we have built massive momentum towards this thing. Because this is what a lot of people do. They'll come onto these things, they'll be like, yay, I'm going to set my 90-day goal. And then they'll fricking forget about it. And 3 weeks later, they'll be like, oh shit, I forgot about that 90-day goal. Okay, let's get some momentum now while we're excited, while we're thinking about it. What can we do today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day? So that by the time Q2 hits and everybody else is like, oh, I should set some goals for this month, or I should set some goals for Q2, you've already completed a bunch of action steps to move towards your goal. I'd love to hear specifically what you guys are willing to do today. And it doesn't need to be huge. right? Like one of the things I'm going to say a little later is like, just put all this stuff in your calendar. Yeah. Jordan. Yeah. What do you got?
So for me, I've realized that I was running within my offer. Obviously, the broader program, like the full program, is it covers everything. So from rehab team to nutritionist to mindset to the fitness. But what I wasn't capitalizing was each of those individually.
Mm.
So I have got like the idea, like I'm already offering the separate coaching calls, and that's more to do with people's career and life in general. Um, Now I have to create a general preparation program, but also allow other people, both groups, to be able to still join the community. So just a case of me finalizing my offer. That's not something that will take too long. It's something that I could do today. And
Beautiful.
that's something that I definitely need to do because I feel like then I will leave every call or the majority of calls with at least something.
Like it. And so, Mike, I did see your hand up. I'll get to you in a second. So, one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is for all these different offers, and for anybody who has more than one offer, like more than one way to, help somebody, and this goes for you too, Catherine, is they're all going to essentially do the same thing overall. Okay. Which is like, for you, Jordan, like they may not help you with the whole spectrum, but they're going to help you, move forward in some way. And this is what we would call like an IP or intellectual property. Like this is the thing you do. And then you just offer different levels of access and proximity to you within that.
Yeah.
So it's essentially one offer, and then there's different levels of proximity. But again, that's just wording, but like offering different levels of access to that same big picture thing. Because if they all get access to the community, then they're all going to get access to, at least some of that stuff on the beyond just one thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've sort of planned it all out. I just need to put pen to paper and make sure that it is
Good.
all good to go.
So let's make sure that's clear today before you go to bed.
Perfect.
Cool. Cool. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, I've been playing around with the idea of running a webinar, and kind of like Jordan said, it's just something that needs to be put to paper. So my goal for the next 24 hours is to brainstorm a topic and then set a date.
Beautiful. And two things. Let ChatGPT help you. And um, are you on my email list? Like, did you
Yeah.
get all the emails leading up to this? The
Yeah.
several emails? Steal those.
Okay.
Steal them all. Now, the other thing you can do with that is if you've got an email list, great, steal them, put your own information in, allow ChatGPT to do that. But also you can take all that, you can put it into ChatGPT and allow it to build some social posts for you and whatever to like share with other audiences.
Yeah, I guess another question I had, I was going to type it in the chat, is how much like of a lead up time do you usually give to up until the webinar is gonna be?
So my launch, essentially my like pre-launch and launch was about a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started kind of like whispering and teasing it a little bit before that. I had a couple of emails and posts that went out that were like, there's something coming. And then we hit the launch I think we hit the launch for like 5 days. And then there was 3 or 4 emails on the last day yesterday. And like I pushed it a little harder the last couple days. And so the way you want to look at it, so I know I know Dan's thinking about doing a webinar as well. The way you want to think about it is we've got to hit all angles. So we want to hit like, the email list, we want to hit the content, but we also want to hit, like, most of you guys came because I DM'd you. I said, hey, do you want to join this thing? So we want to get all those pieces in place for it. So you want to give yourself enough lead time. I would say we want to be looking at like end of April, early May for you. Yes, I will be doing an audiobook version with this sultry voice of conscious. Okay. So yeah, I would say those of you looking at doing a webinar, if you're like just starting to think about it now, let's give ourselves at least a month to start planning because the webinar doesn't matter if nobody shows up. So like the really important thing is we need to have a good hook and we need people to show up. That's what matters. Okay. And so you need to plan that out. We know you're going to deliver something. We just got to make sure that they show up for it. Okay. So today, tomorrow, Saturday, Monday, let's get 4 action items. And then I want you to look weekly. Okay. So what needs to happen by next Friday, the 4th, the 11th, the 18th, the 25th. So this could be X amount of, conversations or things like that. Remember, these action items need to be within your control. So we don't want to say, I need to have 5 sales by now. Okay. Because that's not within your control. But if you know generally that you have a 50% close rate, we could say, I should have booked 10 sales calls by now or completed 10 sales calls by now, which is more within your control. And Michelle, just one note on kind of what I just said. I saw you there on the screen and I thought about this. Your job now is to focus on getting as many people as you can into those workshops. Because I know you well enough to know that when people are in the room with you for an hour, 2 hours learning from you, they're going to be more likely to buy. So now that we've kind of got that thing dialed in and we know like from the one thing we're 1 in 4. Well, if we just stick with that and we get 12 people in, that's 3 sales.
Well, even what Catherine, I think it was Catherine, what she's working on is the group offer. So what I want to do is have this drop-in session, and instead of jumping to one-on-one, which is like obviously a larger investment, now do group coaching online. So in person, okay, you're getting a feel of the online stuff in a group setting. Next level is, you're warming them up for the one-on-one online version. So this is, I had an epiphany, like I was in the mountains this weekend and it all came to me. So that is also income that isn't one-on-one that could be coming in, which excites me so much.
less time. Yeah. And so one of your, just to note on that, one of your big picture milestones should be go in the mountains X amount of times because you get ideas there.
I do it quarterly now, Gav. It's unreal.
Just go to the mountains. Good. Yeah. Good. Catherine says, instead of cold DMs, would you go in and say there's a webinar? Would you be interested? I would do frickin' anything instead of cold DMs. Literally anything. I'm just going to throw that out there. Cold DMs suck. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants to get them. Nobody wants to send them. Okay. So Catherine, the first thing I would say to you, whether it's to point to a webinar or to see if they're interested in coaching or whatever, and I would say that the best option is conversation to some free piece of value like a webinar workshop. Then we make a pitch on working with them. We need something in between. Is let's go warmer. Let's see if we can work through warmer DMs. Okay. Let's see if we can create more of a warmer or find more of our warmer audience. Okay. I want you to start thinking about your audience or your quote unquote leads as like warm or like hot, like as in like they know me and they're very close and they're like interested in booking a call or interested. Those people, make sure they get on the webinar because they're going to be likely to buy after. Then we've got like warm, like, they're dipping their toes in, right? Then we've got like lukewarm, and then we've got cold. The cold people are the last people we contact. They're the people that like, hey, we throw it out there. Hopefully they join, right? I'm guessing from like my social media posts, specifically the posts, maybe like 2 or 3 people joined this list out of 50. It mainly came from me saying, these are people that know me, that have worked with me before, and they're going to be more likely to say yes to doing something like this. I'm going to go message them directly. So people you've worked with before, people who have shown interest, maybe people who have gotten close but haven't booked a call or who have said no on a call, friends of your clients, right? One thing that one of my clients would often do is he would share success stories of his clients and he would tag them and ask them to also share it on their Facebook and Instagram and things like that, like their success story, so that all their friends saw it. And then they would be receiving DMs from their friends saying, how did you do this? And they would be selling for him. So to answer the question, anything but cold DMs. Just going to throw it out there. All right. So hopefully we've got a pretty good amount of action items. I just want to make sure that we get through all of this here. Logistically, as we finish up the action items, make sure that right now or today they get into your calendar. Okay. So we're obviously looking at just a 30-day sprint here, and I'll explain. As you can see here, we're going to check in 4 weeks. So we do essentially 3 30-day sprints within this 90-day goal, because we want to get the feedback from the first 30 days. Okay. So we want to have those action items the next 4, and then the next 4 weeks, put those in the calendar. And if you've got like a weekly goal of X amount of conversations or something like that, put it in every day, to like break it up and put it in every day so you remember. Because right now we're excited. Right now we've got the plan. We don't want to wake up next Friday and be like, what am I supposed to do? I don't remember. Let's put it in there now so that we can just get up, go to work, do the thing. Right? The Frank Den Blanken rule. Get it in there now. And then add a calendar event. So what date did we say? We said 4/25. So near the end of April, put an event in your calendar for probably an hour to check in on your progress, and reset your action items for the next month. Okay, and I'll explain to you exactly how I do that. And this is something that if you decide to join the 90-day accelerator program, we're gonna have a call monthly to do this together. So we'll do the weekly check-ins, and I'll make sure you guys are on track. And then every month, so at the end of April and at the end of May, we're going to do a check-in call to reset the action items and make sure that you're on the right path. Okay, so the way we check in, and you can put this in your calendar as well. So in 30 days, you're going to have 30 days worth of evidence and 30 days worth of feedback on what works and what doesn't. So I use a traffic light system. We first say, am I a green? Which is, I'm on the path to success. If I keep going, I'm definitely going to hit the goal. If you are a green, maybe you could go bigger, change the goal. Go for a bigger one. Am I yellow? Yellow would be, I'm on the path, but I probably got to ramp things up a little bit in the next 2 months to get there. And you might even want to look at, am I a yellow because I picked the wrong action steps, or because I didn't do the action steps that I set out to do? It's going to be one of those 2 reasons. Like, do I need to ramp up the action steps, or do I need to just make sure I do the frickin' action steps? And then, are you a red? Did something change that made your goals change? Like, something happened that you didn't foresee. Do you need to get your shit together? Like, if you're a red and you're like nowhere near, then we need to make some big changes. And that's okay too. It's just feedback. Like I said to Michelle, if 30K dropped in on the last day, she'd be okay, but she'd be red right up to that. She'd be like, I need to change some things. And that's okay. The key here is that over the next month, we take intentional action steps towards the big goal so that we can get the feedback. Because with the feedback will come the clarity. And the first 30 days are really crucial because you still have 60 days after that to make tweaks. Right? Once we're through 60 days and we only got 30 days, it gets pretty intense if we're still a red. So this first 30 days kind of allows you to test some things out and see what works. Those of you thinking of a webinar or workshop, probably end of April would be a good time, because then you've got a lot of feedback for what worked to get people there. And, if you made a pitch, if anybody, took the pitch, and if you made any sales, great. So this is your 30-day check-in. Near the end of April, we're going to check in. Am I green, yellow, or red? Where am I at? Okay. I'm going to give you guys a woo-woo note, and then we're just going to close this thing up with making sure that we're ready to roll and ready to leave here. So some of you guys have heard this story. If you've seen me speak in person, I think it's valuable to share this story again. I have a client who I'm still working with now. She had a goal in 2024 of hitting $1 million in her business. Quick spoiler alert, she did hit $1 million. She hit 1.2, I think. So in February of 2024, so January, she hit like 87K, I think. So February, she was like, I want to hit 90K this month. I want to keep growing. And she knew she had a couple things that were probably going to fall in, and it was going to go well. So February 20th, she was like really far away. I want to say 35 or 40K away from hitting the 90K, and certainly not on track. Okay. But we had talked about, like, she knew what her pattern was. So her pattern was, she obviously had a team at this point, and her pattern was that when things were going well, when things weren't going well, she'd try and fix everything. So she'd jump in on sales calls to try and close them. She'd jump in on DMs. She'd try and help clients who were having a tough time. She'd do everything, even though she was paying a team to do it. And we realized that the best way for her to support the goal and support the team was to stay in the best energy space herself, and to keep faith and not dive in and try and fix everything. So there was a lot of coaching happening at this point, back and forth, but she kept the faith. She stayed in a good energy space, and she stuck to her action steps, which was supporting her team, not doing it for them. And she just kept going. She kept inching towards the goal. February 27th, okay, the day before the end of the month, I got a voice note from her, basically screaming into the phone that Stripe the year before had withheld 25K from her. She had completely forgotten about it, and it dropped it into her account on that day, which put her over 90K. She finished the month over 100K. And she totally forgot about that money. This is what I mean when I talk about letting go of control of how it happens. I was like yelling back at her into the voice note. I was like, the universe is screaming at you, saying you're on the right path. Keep going. Like, it was this beautiful wink from God, or wink from the universe, whatever you choose to believe in, this wink, like, you're on the right path. Keep going. And what I was saying to Nate, what I was saying to a lot of you guys is, put the action steps in place that are going to give you the best chance to get there. And then you have to let go of control. Right? The law of attraction states you must be very clear on what you want, which we've set, very clear on what, and very clear on why. We now also have things that are within our control that we can do, and we need to let go of control of how the goal comes to us. Remember, the outcome is a byproduct of the actions we take. The most successful people are not the people who, it's not just because they set big goals. They're successful because of the actions they take. Keep taking the actions, keep putting one foot in front of the other, getting feedback, take the actions, get feedback, take the actions, get feedback, and have faith that exactly what needs to happen will happen. And if you don't hit the goal, you will not die, especially with the size of goals you guys have hit or have set. You guys have set big goals, right? Remember, you do not pass or fail if you hit the goal or don't hit the goal. The key here is the action steps. Okay? Keep taking the actions. And that's the thing, Catherine. Like, you might need a little more runway. Who knows? But we've set arbitrary goals on arbitrary timelines, right? 90 days is great. Q2 is great. Yeah, that's awesome. July 1st. Okay, great. It's all arbitrary. Keep taking the actions. Just take the next right action, and then let go and let God. Outsource control. Outsource to source, baby. Okay? So I want you to answer a couple of questions right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you? This goes back to Clayton's question earlier. How confident are you that these action steps that you have put in place are the right ones to get you where you want to go? I'd love you guys to drop in the chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that these are the right action steps? Surrender. 10. You don't have to be a 10, by the way, but that's awesome that Surrender and Jordan are 10s. Catherine's a 9. Got a few 9s. Okay, a little more, the realists are entering the equation. Got an 8, got some 9s. We're pretty sure. Cool. Good. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you're going to do all the things? That you're going to take the actions that you have put in place? Because it's one thing for them to be the right ones. It's another thing for you to frickin' do them. Oh, good. We got some 10s. Yeah. I like it. We're reading off the worksheet. That's good, Jordan. He knows what's coming. That's cool. Nils, this is the best part about it is over the next 30, 60, 90 days, you're going to figure out if they're enough. But the key is that you need to take them. You need to make sure you take them. Because then you're going to figure it out. If you don't take the action items, so this is the thing, and I'm glad so many of you are such high numbers. If you don't take the actions, the only thing you will learn is that not taking the actions doesn't work. And that's not very valuable feedback. We want to make sure we take the actions so that we learn if they're the right actions to take. That's the best way to learn. Okay, so let's talk about execution. A lot of you guys said you're already a 10 out of 10. But I want to ask you guys how confident you would be if you had somebody else, not only me, but also a group of people in your business doing it with you on the same team where I said we were at the very beginning of the webinar. Do you think that you would give yourself a better chance? Would it maybe even go to an 11 out of 10? That's what I want you to think about. Is doing it on your own is good. And it sounds like a lot of you guys are 8, 9, 10 out of 10. But I would imagine being a part of a team, being a part of a group, being a part of a community who's doing it is going to be better. And if you think that, then we've likely made the decision that it's the right move to move forward with the program. So to guarantee success, 3 key things: make sure you take this worksheet or take what you've just written down, make it all neat and tidy, and put it somewhere you can see it every single day. The thing we did at the very start of the webinar, actively reading and visualizing the goal at a minimum weekly, tying in those 5 senses, is going to help you feel that feeling more often. And we attract more of what we think and feel. And then get accountability from somebody or some group that you deeply do not want to disappoint, because that will make certain that you do the thing. Okay. The 90-day profit accelerator is what I've talked about in the emails, what I talked about a little bit more earlier. This is a focused sprint that is designed to help you implement fast and kind of get out of your own way and get these real measurable results in 90 days. Rapid implementation over the next 4 days and the next 4 weeks, stack some wins, getting outside eyes and consistent feedback, not only from me, but from up to 10 other business owners. Okay. Smashing through the limiting beliefs and fears. Anybody who's worked with me before knows that I'm going to dig in on that mindset. I'm going to dig in if it's not working. Okay. We're going to build some massive momentum, not only over the next few days, but over the next 90 days, we are going to build massive momentum. That's a secret weapon of a lot of high performers, right? Is to get wins and keep going long after the initial excitement wears off. We're going to do weekly temp checks via text check-ins and monthly temp checks via group calls. So we are going to track your progress every single week and then every single month. And then we are going to get ruthless accountability in the best way possible. High level accountability Make sure that you don't hide. Make sure that you don't coast. Like I said, we are capping this group at 10 people. So you get real support, keep you in integrity with your vision, even when it's uncomfortable. So if you want details, if you want more, just text me or WhatsApp me. That's my number. And I'm going to give you one more thing to close on. One of my favorite quotes from Alex Hormozi: you measure your success by whether you completed the actions that would make it unreasonable to fail. If you do that, you will succeed by default. You measure your success by whether you completed the actions that would make it unreasonable to fail. Okay? What I'm offering you over the next 90 days is the opportunity to make sure that you complete those action items, make sure that you're held to a higher standard, and make sure that your mindset is in the right place to make it happen. Thank you, Marcy.